Russia's foreign minister has criticised the Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe as it opens its annual meeting in Poland without him. Sergei Lavrov accused the OSCE of being anti-Russian after host country Poland banned him from attending. The meeting in Lodz opened with denunciations of Russia's war against Ukraine, which has been one of the group's biggest challenges since it was created nearly 50 years ago as a forum to discuss security matters within Europe. Well, our correspondent Terry Schultz is at those talks in Poland. She told me how Russia is being discussed in Mr. Lavrov's absence.
That's right. Russia is represented by its ambassador to the OSCE, and certainly the issue of Russia's war on Ukraine absolutely dominated this meeting of 57 countries here in Poland. Country after country denounced Moscow's actions, its aggression against Ukraine, and pledged more support for Kyiv. But Foreign Minister Lavrov may have been out of sight, but he was not out of mind as he gave a long, rambling press conference at exactly the same time the meeting was getting underway. He trashed the organization, criticized the Polish chairmanship of it, and said that the OSCE is basically under control of the United States. But once again, the majority of the countries here, the vast majority, are firmly against Russia. There's even discussion of whether Russia should be kicked out of the organization, despite there not being a mechanism to do that. So certainly here, sentiment was firmly against Moscow, whatever Lavrov may have been saying there.
And the EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, has been saying the plan is to make Russia pay for the reconstruction of Ukraine. How are they planning to do that?
That's right. Foreign Policy Chief Borrell brought up those issues here at the OSCE and said he would be discussing them with partners here. And there are some creative ways the EU is looking at making Russia pay for what it's done in Ukraine, as it reiterates all the time. For example, there are some 20 billion euros in assets that have been frozen, assets of oligarchs who've been put on Russia's blacklist. There's also some 300 billion euros of assets that the Russian bank has that it can't use right now. And so one of the ways that the EU is thinking it could get money from Russia to Kyiv at the moment without any other legal mechanisms to do it is by investing the Russian money and using the interest to give it to Kyiv. There are other ways that it plans to work on long term to do that. And one of them is, of course, paying war reparations after the war is over. But at the moment, they're very much looking for practical ways to get money to Kyiv from Moscow quickly.
And what else is on the agenda there at Lodz? Presumably it's not all about Russia and Ukraine.
It's not all about Russia and Ukraine, but as I mentioned, that's absolutely dominating the meeting. You know, speaker after speaker, the foreign ministers are having to basically address the questions of whether the OSCE is a viable and effective organization. Because it operates by consensus, that means that in this case, Russia or one of its allies, Belarus, or any other country on another issue can block the organization from moving forward. For example, at the moment, Moscow is blocking the 2024 budget and blocking the next chairmanship, which would be held by Estonia. So there's a lot of talk about how the organization can be effective if it's running on consensus. But in general, the sentiment is that despite the difficulties it's undergoing now, there is still value in having 57 countries, including Russia, sit around the table. So for now, there's a lot of support for the OSCE in general.
OK, thank you, Terry. Terry Schultz at the OSCE meeting in Poland.